Have you ever seen how a master swordsmith creates something like a katana? It's absolutely mesmerizing. They don't just take a lump of iron and hammer it into a sword shape. The process is much more complex. They take the steel and heat it until it's glowing like the sun. They hammer it flat and then they fold it. Then they fold it over itself, hammer it out, and do it again and again, and sometimes hundreds of times. Each fold, each violent strike of the hammer does two things. It burns away the impurities in the metals, and it creates an incredibly thin, resilient layers. It's this process of repeated testing, of facing the same fire and the same hammer over and over, that transforms a brittle piece of metal into a legendary blade that is both incredibly strong and flexible. Character works the exact same way. It's easy to look good on your first try. It's easy to be merciful or brave or honest once. But the real question is, what happens when life folds you over and puts you back in the same fire you were just in? That second test, that's the one that reveals everything. It separates the brittle iron from the true steel. Well, David, the shepherd king in waiting, is about to be folded. He already faced the fire once and made a choice that stunned everyone. But now, the forge is roaring back to life, and this next test will prove, beyond any doubt, the quality of his soul. Alright, welcome back to Bible Hero Saga. So let's do a quick recap to set the stage, because context is everything. The last time we saw David in a major crisis, it wasn't against Saul, it was against himself. Remember that whole incident with the rich, foolish Nabal? David, wounded by a stupid insult, was about to go full-on warlord and massacre an entire household. If it wasn't for the quick thinking and incredible wisdom of Nabal's wife, Abigail, David would have had a mistake that would have haunted him forever. That event was a wake-up call. It taught him that his own pride, his own temper, could be a monster. He learned a powerful lesson in restraint, and he's going to need every ounce of that lesson now because the other monster in his life, King Saul, is stirring again. You remember that dramatic, tearful reconciliation in the cave at En-Gedi, right? Saul crying, calling David his son, promising he'd stop the hunt. Well, it turns out that was about as sincere as a fox promising a chicken he's gone vegan. It was a fleeting emotional moment, a brief pang of regret, but it wasn't true, deep, lasting change. And all it takes for Saul to relapse is a little bit of poison dripping in his ear. And guess who's holding the dropper? The Ziphites. Again, you gotta be kidding me. These are men from the tribe of Judah, David's own kinsmen. This isn't just a political betrayal, it feels personal. They live in the same rugged wilderness where David is trying to survive. They know the terrain, they know the desperation, but instead of showing solidarity, they scurry back to Saul's court like eager informants, desperate for a pat on the head from the king. Just so you know, they whisper, David's back, hiding on the hill of Hakilah. You can get him. Now, let's really try and get inside Saul's head here, because his psychology is one of the most tragic parts of the whole story. This is a man who was chosen by God, who was once a hero to his people, but now the Bible tells us a dark spirit has a grip on him. Imagine what his world must be like. It's a haunted house of his own making. Every shadow holds a threat. Every whisper is a plot. His own greatness has become a source of torment because he sees David, rising star, not as a blessing for Israel, but as a personal threat to his own fading light. So when the Ziphites fed him this information, it's like throwing gasoline on a smoldering fire of his paranoia. It confirms every twisted fear he has. The memory of David sparing his life doesn't make him feel grateful. It makes him feel weak and foolish. He let me go to mock me. He's out there now, laughing, plotting. In his diseased mind, David's mercy wasn't a gift, it was an insult. And just like that, the switch is flipped. There's no council meeting, no thoughtful deliberation. He immediately mobilizes 3,000 of his best soldiers. These are special forces of Israel, the elite warriors meant to defend the nation from the Philistines and other foreign threats. And Saul is using them as his own personal hit squad to hunt one man, a man he knows in his heart is innocent. It's an obscene waste of resources, a kingdom turned inward on itself, cannibalizing its own future to soothe the ego of its broken king. The news ripples through David's camp, and you have to imagine the crushing weight of that news. His 600 men aren't just soldiers, they're refugees. They are men who were in debt, in distress, discontented. They came to David looking for hope, for a new start, and for months, maybe even a year or two, all they've known is running. They are weary, their sandals are worn, their supplies are low, and their patience is surely wearing thin. They have to be thinking, when does this end? This is the pressure on David. It's not just about his own survival anymore, it's about holding this fragile community together. He's a leader, and leaders have to absorb the fear and exhaustion of their people and project strength and hope. So he does what great leaders do. He gets intelligence, he confirms the reports, and then he formulates a plan so bold, so audacious, it's almost crazy. He's not going to run, he's going to the offense. Not with the sword, with information, with truth. He turns to his inner circle. Who will go down with me to Saul in the camp, he asks. A voice, rough and ready, cuts through the tension. Let's give this man his due. Abishai isn't just some thug. He's David's nephew, the brother of the soon-to-be famous General Joab. He is loyalty personified. He has seen firsthand what this endless chase has done to David and his men. His love for David is fierce, and his solution to the problem is simple: eliminate the source. He is the embodiment of righteous, justified violence. And when David chooses him to come along, he's choosing to bring the very voice of temptation with him into the heart of the enemy camp. The descent into the valley is tense. The air is still. The moon is likely hiding behind clouds. Every snapped twig, every dislodged stone could give them away. There are 2 men against 3,000, but as they get closer, they realize something is deeply wrong, or perhaps deeply right. The camp is silent, eerily silent. There's nobody walking the perimeter. No low chatter from men on watch, nothing. And the Bible gives us that incredible reason, because a very deep sleep from the Lord had fallen upon them. And let's pause on that. This isn't just everyone being tired. This is a supernatural event. God has intervened. He has essentially frozen the game board, removed every obstacle, and shined a spotlight on the single most important piece, the sleeping king. He's ensuring that whatever happens next is a pure, unadulterated choice. There are no excuses. No, we would have, but God has paved a direct path to Saul and is now watching and waiting. They reach to the center of the camp. Ancient military camps were often laid out in concentric circles with the commander in the most protected spot, in the trench or wagon ring. And there he is, King Saul, the source of all their misery. And next to his head, stuck in the earth like a grim trophy, is his royal spear. Beside it, a simple jug of water. He is helpless as a child. Abishai's warrior heart is pounding. This is it. This is the moment they've all been praying for, whether they admit it or not. He leans in close to David. His whisper is a blade of focused intensity. God has delivered him, he says, his voice thick with conviction. He put him in your hand. This is a sign. This is justice, please. He begs, let me do it. Let me end the suffering. One single stroke with the spear, I swear it, I won't even have to strike him a second time. Now let's really unpack Abishai's argument here, because he's not wrong from a worldly perspective. He's not just being bloodthirsty, he's being pragmatic. He's thinking, my leader, my uncle, the future of our nation is being hunted like an animal. Here is the source of that hunt. To eliminate him now would be irresponsible. It would be condemning all 600 of us and our families. to more running, more fear, more death. He might even be thinking about the priest at Nob, slaughtered on Saul's order. This man's hands are covered in innocent blood, David. This isn't murder, this is a cleansing. This is the ultimate temptation. It's not just an opportunity, it's an opportunity that comes wrapped in the logic of justice, strategy, and self-preservation. What would you do? After all the broken promises, after all the betrayals, would your mercy have run out by now? David looks at the sleeping face of his tormentor. Maybe for a second, he sees the man who first brought him to court, who was a father to his best friend, Jonathan, and his wife, Michal. Maybe he sees the tragic haunted figure this great man has become. His own lesson with Nabal is surely fresh in his mind, the memory of how close he came to letting his own wounded pride lead him to slaughter. He knows the allure of righteous violence. He knows how good it can feel in the moment and how poisonous it is to his soul in the long run. His decision isn't just a choice, it's a declaration of his entire worldview. He turns to Abishai. His voice carries the weight of absolute certainty. It's the voice of true steel that has been through the fire once and is now stronger for that. Do not destroy him, he says, and the command is final. Think, Abishai, who can stretch out his hand against the Lord anointed and be guiltless? He's asking Abishai to elevate his thinking beyond the immediate problem to the eternal principle. This isn't our call to make, he's saying. This man, for all of his faults, was put on the throne by God. His anointing, his office is sacred, even if his actions are not. We cannot build a righteous kingdom on a sacrilegious act. It would be like building a beautiful house on a corrupt, crumbling foundation. It will not stand. He then makes it even clearer, swearing a holy oath to drive the point home. As the Lord lives, he says, his voice low and intense, God will deal with him. Either the Lord himself will strike him down, or his natural day will come to die, or he will fall in a future battle. That is God's business. Our business is to keep our hands clean. The Lord forbid that I should touch his anointed. This is the lesson. This is David's genius. It's a radical trust in God's timing and God's justice. It's the ultimate act of faith-based leadership. He understands that the how is just as important, if not more important, than the what. How you get the throne defines your entire reign. So with a quiet resolve, he gives the final order. Just take the spear that is at his head and the jug of water, take the proof, and let's go. The slip away ghost in the night, clutching the symbols of Saul's vulnerability and David's restraint. But David isn't just going to disappear. That's not his style. He needs to make a point. He needs to expose the truth not just to Saul, but to all 3,000 of his soldiers. He climbs to the peak of a hill across the deep canyon, putting a safe distance between himself and the army, and he prepares to speak. He doesn't address the king. That would be too easy. He targets the man responsible for the king's safety, his general, his own cousin, Abner. David's voice, honed by years of calling sheep across the Judean hills, booms across the canyon with astonishing power. Abner, can you hear me? Abner, are you going to answer? The startling, groggy voice yells back from the valley floor. Who are you to be shouting at the king? And then David just unleashes. It's a brilliant tactical takedown designed to humiliate Abner in front of all of his men. My, Abner, you're quite the hero, aren't you? The great protector of Israel. Then tell me, why weren't you doing your job last night? Why weren't you guarding your master, the king? Because I got news for you. Someone came into your super secure camp to kill him. You should all be ashamed. In fact, as the Lord lives, for this level of incompetence, you deserve to die. Then comes the final, undeniable proof, the mic drop moment. And now, just to prove my point, why don't you have your men look around for the king's royal spear and that jug of water that was sitting right beside his head? Go on, I'll wait. A wave of cold, dawning horror must have swept through the camp. Saul, now wide awake, recognizes the voice. He knows instantly what happened. He was helpless. And David there, he was still alive. His voice, when he calls out, is thin and trembling. David, my son, is that your voice? David's reply is filled with a profound sadness. He's not gloating anymore. He's making his final appeal to the man who was once his mentor. Is it my voice, my lord, O king? Why? Why are you still pursuing me? What have I ever done? What evil have I committed? God delivered you into my hand tonight, and I refuse to touch you. I value your life more than you value mine. And Saul does the only thing he knows how to do when confronted with his own sin. He breaks. He confesses. I have sinned, he cries. His voice echoes pathetically in the vast canyon. Come back, my son David. I will not harm you anymore because you held my life precious today. I have been a fool, and I have erred exceedingly. He says the words, he says all the right words, but we've heard this song before, haven't we? It's the same tune, but the feeling is gone. It's the hollow echo of a promise already broken. David passed the test of repetition, and in doing so, he held up a mirror to Saul, proving that the king's character was fundamentally incapable of true change. They part ways, two kings going in opposite directions. Saul, the king in practice, returns to his palace, a man haunted by his own demons, and David, the king in spirit, looks out over the land that will one day be his. He knows now, with a certainty that chills him to the bone, that this has to end. He cannot spend the rest of his life playing in this deadly game of cat and mouse. He has proven his character, he has kept his hands clean. He has trusted God, but he also has a responsibility to the 600 souls who follow him. He has to keep them safe, and he has realized in a heartbreaking moment of clarity that the only way to be safe from the king of Israel is to leave Israel altogether. It's a desperate, almost unthinkable plan, a strategic retreat that looks a lot like a surrender, but David is playing the long game, and his next move will be his most audacious yet. Join us next time on Bible Hero Saga as David takes on his entire outlaw community and makes a shocking political asylum claim in the last place anyone would ever look. Deep in the heart of a Philistine empire, serving the very enemies he was anointed to destroy. If you got something out of this story today, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It's a small click for you, but it makes a huge difference for the channel and lets me know you guys want more deep dives like this one. And finally, if you want to follow this journey and not miss the next chapter, because David's time with the Philistines gets wildly complicated, make sure you're subscribed and have that notification bell clicked. Thank you so much for hanging out and exploring the story with me. I'll see you guys in the next episode of Bible Hero Saga.